everybody. Welcome to Your Capital, What's Up? I'm Chuck Wiger, your area state senator. Thank you very much for watching. Today, we're very honored to have the sheriff of Ramsey County, Matt Bostrom. Welcome to our show, Sheriff Bostrom.
Thank you so much, Senator Wiger. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Well, you have a distinguished career in law enforcement, and we're going to learn about what inspired you to become a police officer and ultimately a sheriff. But first, let's just share with our viewers what is the role of the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think a lot of people think they're supposed to know, but we do so many things. I'm never surprised that people don't know the full capacity of what the sheriff does.
Okay. And when we describe this now, is this required by state law, or you decide? Or so let us know where these duties, where they
great question. And it really is a statute. State statute guides our core functions at the sheriff's office. And the core functions that we have are, we do the patrol services for the communities that don't have their own police departments in Ramsey County, of which we have 7 communities. Some of them they would include North Oaks, Vadnais Heights, White Bear Township, Little Canada, Gem Lake, Arden Hills, Shoreview. Those are all the...
So you provide patrol? And sometimes, though, there may be, you know, the sheriff could be in other Ramsey County communities, or even I've seen them in the adjacent counties, depending on the case, but in various cooperation efforts that you have.
And that's one of the other statutory allowances that we have, is we can seamlessly come alongside cities that already have an existing police department. And that's been one of the guiding principles that I've had, where I think the sheriff can be very supportive. One, as a leader in the communities where they don't have police departments, but second, to come alongside these chiefs. So for instance, Maplewood has a chief of police, and so I believe that the best way for me to help Ramsey County be safe is to have a safe Maplewood. Or to have a safe St. Paul. So anything I can do to support those chiefs in their efforts, good for Ramsey County. So that's part of the role of the sheriff, is that we have the legal authority to come alongside these chiefs without special powers or anything else. We already have those existing powers. So that's one aspect. The other one is detention. I think it's common that people know that when someone gets arrested, they bring that person to the police department, but the police departments don't have jails. So statute requires that they turn that person over before court for pre-trial.
For the detention.
To detention. That goes to the sheriff's office. That's in the law. So then we hold that person essentially until they have the pre-sentence. You know, so any of those things that would happen before the court, before they actually have their court time, you know, before they go before a judge, we are the ones that keep that person safe, get them to court on time, make sure they have their opportunity to state their plea.
For persons that don't know the location, there is it's a very you know, important facility. But where's it located?
We're at 425 Grove Street, so we're just off from Lafayette and Grove, just off from 7th and University, or 7th and Lafayette rather, in St. Paul.
And how many people may be detained there at one time?
You know, we have capacity to in excess of 500. We're currently not functioning at full capacity. On an average day, we probably have 350 to 375 detainees in our facility. So patrol, detention, and the next one is, I already touched on it briefly, is courts. So we are the people that get someone to the court system. We make sure that they have their day safe and secure in court, and so that's one aspect. But then, you know, a lot of people forget, when the judge hits the gavel and they have an order that they want to send out, some sort of a civil order or a process order, who delivers that officially from the bench? That is the sheriff's office. So our deputies are the ones that are an extension of the bench to deliver official orders throughout the county. So then the other part is that we are able to do many of the investigations because of our seamlessness, meaning we don't have to worry about whether a guy travels from Roseville to Maplewood to North St. Paul. If our investigators are helping in those investigations, we are able to share information much more seamlessly. So that's another thing that we support. And then lastly, statute requires that we do all the rescue and law enforcement on the waterways.
Okay.
So the 18 miles of the Mississippi River, the dozens of lakes we have in Ramsey County, it is our task, one, to support some of the DNR efforts, but secondly, to make sure that we take care of the safety and security and any rescue issues or investigation issues that would happen on the waterways.
And it's year-round, of course.
Year-round, whether it is frozen or not. We need to manage those the lakes and trails. So the spectrum of things that we do include all of those areas. And then you have SWAT, and you have your you have K9. We have
SWAT,
the special weapons and tactics.
Okay.
And so we have that capability as well, because some of the other smaller jurisdictions, the communities in Ramsey County, don't have their own SWAT team. So that's our task, is to support them if they would run into a difficult situation.
Okay.
So it's quite a spectrum, and then the exciting part is those authority and those powers that we have extend in Ramsey County from the southern tip of Blaine all the way to South Highland in St. Paul, all the way from nearly Newport, all the way north to Bald Eagle Lake. And so our ability to be an agency that takes the lead sometimes or comes alongside at other times is unique. And it's actually a great model of regional government, and I think how to do things both effectively and efficiently. Normally you don't hear that in government. I don't think you hear effective and efficient at the same time. But I think that
more and more we're trying.
Yeah, I know it's what we strive to do. But I think the sheriff's office, you know, as we're trying to run it as a professional agency, I think is really uniquely positioned to provide support in public safety ways in communities throughout our county.
Okay. Now, the statutory obligations are there, and there's various public education efforts, and I'd like to mention some of those that you're involved in, just because prevention is obviously
prevention is a key piece, and one of the things where I think I've challenged our deputies, but I know it's a role, you know, when I look back over my history, that when you're a law enforcement officer, you have a unique position in the community as someone, as an authority figure. And so people often call us when things are wrong. Kids, you know, they call when the kids are doing something wrong. And I want to change that a little bit, saying, I know people will always call to do that, but what are we doing to come alongside kids that are doing things right? Are we putting ourselves in a position to be at schools, at sporting events, at arts events, other activities where kids are doing positive things, and are we taking our position as leaders in our community to come alongside and tell those kids, great job, we noticed, and to be one more, not just the parents or the teachers or other people. We want to take that role and catch kids doing something right, and then reinforce those positive behaviors.
Catch them doing something right.
Yes, and then reinforce it. It's something that's exciting for law enforcement officers.
Can you give me an example where you've done that? Because I can tell you walk the talk.
Well, an example would be one, you know, so if some folks do it as part of their daily work. If you're teaching DARE or you're a school resource officer, you have a daily opportunity to reinforce those things. But the other place where I see our deputies doing this is some participate in mentoring programs over on the west side of St. Paul. Some are coaches in their community. Others, and they're doing that both as a dad but as a deputy, and they're reinforcing that behavior. Then there's other organized community events where we'll set up a booth. For instance, in White Bear Lake, they have Manitou Days. So we set up a booth out there to invite people to learn a little bit more about what we're doing, but also to have outreach to youth to help them celebrate great things going on in the community, but also invite them to start thinking in terms of law enforcement as a career, as service. And then we got men and women that are involved in Scouts. And so what I'm tasking my folks to do is to say, take a bigger view of what community policing looks like, and the things that you're doing on your own time. I want to celebrate that with my deputies, but also let them know, reinforce that when you're out coaching and you're in your community, let them know, one, you're a dad, you're a mom, you're a deputy, and you're there to help those kids improve and celebrate with them, because I believe that some of the skills that you learn through those activities are going to carry forward. And so from that, and here's the exciting part, is this is good for our law enforcement officers too, because they see the optimism that you get from only being around kids. When they're in Scouts, when they're in sporting programs and other activities, you see the best of the best. And it provides a great deal of hope, and it motivates our law enforcement officers to continue to, I think, exceed expectations. And so it's actually two things. One, we're reinforcing positive behavior with the kids, but two, The other standard is, or the other aspect of this, I should say, is that it's great for our deputies. So
good. Now you're accountable to the public as you are elected as a public servant, and then you have a staff that is accountable to you. Tell us about the number of sheriffs that you have and what is embraced in that department.
Sure. One of the things that I have found is that this is really unique, where in many ways I function as a department director, the Ramsey County Sheriff's Department. However, in running a department, I've been elected to lead that. So it kind of has, you're right, it's almost as if there's two worlds. There's the part where you've been elected, and then there's the part where people are expecting you to run that agency as a chief or a CEO. And so the good part for me, where some chiefs, here's the great part for our 87 sheriffs, you know, each one of them have the same autonomy, that once every 4 years, you go before your stakeholders. In those in-between years, you negotiate your budget with your county board and so on. But on a daily basis, you don't have to work for the city manager or a mayor or city council, so you have a great deal of autonomy. There are checks and balances. But that is something very unique, that the voters actually get to select who's going to lead their public safety efforts in their county. So that's somewhat unique. Normally, you know, when you look at chiefs or superintendents of schools and so on, there's an appointment process, there's a board, there's a council, and so on. So it is a little bit unique in United States government that the sheriff is elected. So again, as I said, I walk in two worlds, but it's very exciting. And
how many sheriffs are there?
We have 87 counties, so there's 87 sheriffs.
But working for you,
I'm sorry, employees. Yes. So I have approximately.
And I know you're the sheriff, but when we see a Ramsey County,
so when you see a deputy,
yes.
So yeah, they are an extension of our office and running under the banner of the office of the sheriff.
Yes.
That's where their authority comes from. And so I have at any time between 180 and 200 sworn deputies. Those are those folks that have full law enforcement power. Standard ranks from under sheriff to inspector, commander, sergeant, investigator, officer, or you know, and we call our officers. Most people call them, you know, would say in a city they call them officers. In the sheriff's office, you call them deputies. Then I have correctional officers, and I have approximately at any time between 120 to 140 that serve, focusing on our detention aspects and the services that we provide in detention. Then I have community service officers, other clerks and non-sworn staff. And so in the end, right around 400 paid staff are in the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office.
400, so.
And then I have, this is going to astound you, at least I think it will. I have over 500 volunteers. These are men and women from our community that have said, they've held up their hand and said, you know what, I have some skills, I'm not ready to retire yet. I think public service is noble, and I'm wondering if you could use my skill set. And so we have a variety of volunteers that work as reserves, they work as community affairs officers, they work as civil defense corps. We have our citizen emergency response teams, and these are part of the group. So you say, people say, well, what do they do? Well, all right, we had the tornado in North Minneapolis. These are we had 24 people like that say, I've been trained, I would love to go over there and help. And so just in a matter of hours, they're assembled, they have their equipment, and we lead them over there, and they're willing to come alongside and support those, because they have the training, they have the support. And in Ramsey County, I've been around, you know, other cities, and I've seen what other counties have. We have a rich culture of people willing to give back to the community, and again, they're dedicating themselves to supporting their community through some of the volunteer activities that the sheriff's office is able to support.
And we'll show the website for your office, and that would be a place to learn more about what we've highlighted so far. In addition, for volunteer opportunities, they would find the contact
absolute contact information is there. We delineate, you know, we don't see that there's a one-size-fits-all. People come with different skill sets, and so we have different levels of volunteering that we allow people to plug in, and then again we give them the training and the equipment they need to serve in that capacity. And Ramsey, you know, another example is Ramsey County we've got vibrant communities throughout, and there's so many events that if we were to try to staff these with all paid personnel and keep them safe, it would be cost prohibitive. We couldn't do it. I mean, communities couldn't afford to do it. So having volunteers actually adds to the safety and vibrancy of our entire county. And so these men and women are just been amazing. And yeah, so it's exciting to be part of that. So when you put all that together, 400 paid staff, 500 plus, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts at the sheriff's office. It's exciting.
Sure.
It's exciting.
Highlight a couple of the major challenges you're faced with, and we've read about the gang strike task force and other issues, attacking the drug war. And but what would be some of the critical challenges in terms of fighting crime?
Right. I think one of the things is looking back at lessons learned from the Metro Gang or the Minnesota Gang Strike Force. They've had varying names over the years, and saying, all right, there's some things that I think a lot of people like to look at what went wrong, and we have to make sure that never happens again. And I believe that the law enforcement leaders in our state, along with our elected leaders, have said, you know what, we got to have some other mechanisms in place for checks and balances. And so I believe that I don't think we're going to see something like that again. At least what I see with my colleagues and where I see our community wants to go, I don't think we're going to see that again. But we have to be cautious and make sure that we don't just put things on autopilot and assume things are working. So that's one piece of making sure that we don't make some of those same mistakes or leave ourselves open to scrutiny that shouldn't have happened. So the other, but
in terms of fighting gangs,
but for fighting gangs, one of the things we're working on the challenge is still there, and where we're going as law enforcement leaders is to really talk in terms of what's our goals and objectives, because I think sometimes when you put the title gang on it, you maybe limit what you're really talking about. And I think we've gotten better at describing what we really mean. A gang could be part of it, but really what we're talking about are violent offenders or career criminals. Could some of those people be gang members? The answer is yes. But are all of them gang members? No. But I think really we want to look at the most dangerous people in our community and make sure that we're taking our limited resources and being intelligent about how we deploy them and strategically make sure that these people aren't reoffending. And then when they are in custody, what are we doing to position them so that they don't come back into the system again? Assuming that sometime their sentence is concluded, they're going to go back. What are we doing to make sure that we don't, that we position them so they don't reoffend? And so the key to this, and this is where the conversation has been, this is our opportunity, is that in tight budgetary times, we really are all forced to look at our core functions. And then also saying, you know what, we can't do this ourselves anymore. Who are our partners? And so the discussions now have opened up among police officers, police chiefs, sheriff's departments, the county attorney's office, the public defender's office, our corrections, to say, wait a minute, we got to quit looking at this as just a closed system, like the sheriff's office operates without touching anybody else. We all touch each other. As I described, the sheriff's office in many ways is like the ligaments, between detention, courts, police departments. We kind of go cross-sectionally. We're the ones that I think have a great deal of influence to tie this together. And so that is where we're going with this. And so working with the county attorney and working with our chiefs to say, what can we do to support each other, to deal with the behavior, so when people violate the law, we deal with it quickly, promptly, and we're dealing with the right people. And then when they're in custody, what are we doing to position them so that they don't reoffend? So there's some exciting opportunities, and so that's how we're going about it. Instead of going it alone, we're going at it together. We're trying to better define who it is that we're looking for, and then using intelligence. And I don't mean intelligence meaning spying. I mean use reliable information to target and go after our most dangerous offenders. And we believe that you're starting to see the implications of that. I think St. Paul has only had 4 homicides so far the first 6 months of the year. That's unheard of in a city of 300,000. And then you look countywide, for 550,000 people living in our community, we are doing very, very well. Again, I think I go back to good community policing, good cooperation, and then measures to say we're going after the most the most difficult people and focusing our resources there.
And do you meet periodically then with the police chiefs throughout Ramsey? And
Yeah, we meet on a regular, at least a minimum monthly, but on a regular basis where we'll get together for other reasons, for strategic reasons. So an example would be where we have, we're doing a traffic initiative. And so let's just pick a road like White Bear Avenue. It extends from St. Paul all the way through White Bear. Okay, and then the communities in between. Well, if we're going to reduce property damage, DWI, and loss of life, who has jurisdiction on that whole corridor? The sheriff's office does.
Well, I guess the highway patrol too, right?
Yes.
So it's a state highway.
Exactly.
Or when it gets to 61.
Yes, it does become a trunk highway, and it touches there, so the state patrol has an interest. So our task is we can help convene all these agencies and come together to say, you know, let's work on that corridor. Let's not. A safe White Bear Avenue is important to our whole community. So one of the things that we've been able to do is be strategic in saying this is just one of those aspects. Because here's the funny part is no matter where, I don't know, funny. It is. I think it is kind of funny. No matter where you go, and I'm sure you see this in your district, when you ask people what's their #1 difficulty in their neighborhood, when they talk to the cops, what they'll say is traffic. Speeding cars and loud radios or mufflers. That's true in St. Paul, and it's true in the suburbs. And so if we're going to be responsive, then let's deal with some of these traffic issues. So one of those things is to have a multi-jurisdictional effort, and let's choose an area and try to put resources toward it, as opposed to just driving around in your squad car, and whoever you stop, you stop. Let's be strategic in why we're stopping. What are we really trying to accomplish with our traffic efforts? So what I'm seeing with I use that as an example to say our chiefs are on board. They want to be strategic because they see that if their community is safe, that's good for the next community, and together we're getting better at it every day.
Okay. Sheriff Bostrom, this has been very informative. We mentioned the website, and I know that you're on the speaking circuit quite a bit with groups. I'd like to learn more about Matt growing up.
Sure.
And you're from the east side, and you come from a police family. So tell us about growing up.
Sure. I grew up in the Lake Phalen area. I'm the oldest of 3 boys. I have 2 younger brothers. And I grew up with parents that were really dedicated to the neighborhood. I remember from my earliest years saying, we take care of our neighbors.
Yes.
We attend school, and from my earliest days, my dad was on the PTAs of the schools, and so it wasn't.
Dan.
Yes, and so it wasn't just a matter of him saying it at home. He walked the talk, and that was an expectation. And as I grew, I understood that, you know what, there's great value in that, and that it's important to not just come and go from your house, but be connected to your neighborhood.
I know how much your mother valued that and was so supportive too. Well, she's left us. But.
Yes, but thank you. I credit both my parents for raising us with those values. I mention that because it's going to come back together. As I look back on life, there's probably 3 streams that came together where. And it's allowed me to serve as sheriff. So that's one of them, just that upbringing, about a sense of community, what your values are, and being part of...
You said the schools you went to?
I went to one school's not even up anymore. I went to Phalen Park School, which was at the corner of Payne and Geranium. Then I went to Wheelock Elementary and Farnsworth, just short. Our parents moved, my parents moved at that time. And then Prosperity Heights Elementary. Went to Hazel Park Middle School. It was junior high at that time, and then graduated from Johnson High School. Along the way, I met a beautiful redhead, and she was also in band. I was a band student, among other things, in sports in high school, so I was a trumpet player. My wife, anyway, so I saw this girl, and I said, hey, she might have some possibilities, and she agreed to date.
Her name?
Her name is Cheryl. Cheryl Oberg at the time. And she grew up in the Frost Lake area. And so anyway, we ended up becoming an item later in high school, and then ultimately that continued on. And we loved that Phalen area so much. That's where we raised our kids. We ended up having 3 kids. They're all grown. Our last one, with a daughter, she's graduated and moved on. A son graduated from college and moved on, and the youngest son just graduated from Bethel University here just a month ago.
Wonderful.
Or so.
We all know of your strong commitment to family, community, and your church, and That's highly respected.
Well,
so.
well, thank you. And I credit my parents for those underpinnings, and it served me well. So my wife and I love the area so much, that's where we raised the kids. And
mentioned too, after Johnson, some additional training.
So then some other things happened. I ended up getting hired at the St. Paul Police Department as a community service officer, and that was, I was just going to use that job to work my way through college. But I really liked the environment. I was actually gone to the University of Minnesota to become an engineering student. I had done some internships at 3M, and I thought at the time I didn't know what it was. I just thought this is work I can do, but I wasn't work that I was sure I was supposed to be doing. So while I was changing careers, I got a job at the police, or changing educational majors. I decided to work. I got a job at the St. Paul Police Department and went back to college. But I love the environment. I took the police test, and lo and behold, November of 1982, I got hired. I just turned 21. And I got in an academy there and made my, so that's where my career started in law enforcement. And
with St. Paul?
Yeah, with St. Paul, and made my way up through the ranks, served 11 years as a patrol officer, then was an investigator, a sergeant, a lieutenant commander, senior commander. And so I've had just a great opportunity to serve at a variety of levels, and then finished my career last 6 years as senior administration at the St. Paul Police Department, assistant chief. And just a tremendous organization to work for.
I want to jump back to high school. What was your favorite sport?
Football. Played a lot of football.
Position
I played linebacker, and you're going to believe this because I'm not that big a guy, but I played guard. At the time, they needed quick linemen, so I was quick enough to do what they needed, and so that's where I played. So I was in there mixing it up with the big guys all the time. And played basketball as well and on a track team. So involved there. Ended up getting up, made my way through the police department, learned a lot of things there. Went back to school, finished my bachelor's degree, then went back and got a master's degree in education.
Oh, excellent. Which school for the master's?
A master's degree was at the University of St. Thomas. Got my elementary ed licensure there as well. Actually, maybe I'm just a frustrated school teacher. Maybe that's who I am.
Well, you're an educator in a different venue.
I love the teaching and coaching piece, and that was a place where I had an opportunity to do that. And then had the chance to go back, finished up my doctorate in public administration from Hamline University, and also I'm a graduate of the FBI National Academy. So I kind of talk about these three streams that seem to have come together. It's that family values, the educational piece, and then the experience I've had in law enforcement. And I knew that if I was going to stay in this career, that the future in law enforcement really is in regional response. And so I thought, I'll just make myself available. If people think my background fits the needs of Ramsey County and to serve as sheriff, I'd be happy to do so, and the folks have given me an opportunity. You have a green light there, and I did not know about the doctorate part as well. I guess I could have read that somewhere, but it's a very impressive dossier, and more so just your service, the follow-up, and we commend those efforts, Sheriff. Thanks so much. Thank you so much for the time. And if viewers have questions of the Sheriff, contact him or the office. I know they'll promptly follow up. Absolutely. Thank you so much. And viewers, questions of me, give me a call. My cell phone, 651-770-0283. For Your Capital What's Up, I'm Chuck Wiger. Thank you very much for watching.